Bear in mind that if you say anything on the mic, if you want to explore with us, if you want to talk to us at all, you're welcome to do that. But you don't have to. You can just sit back and listen and explore a little bit and talk to us later. There is a worksheet that was provided to you in the welcome email, and that will be provided to you after the session as well. So we invite you to take a look at that, assess your trance experiences, and submit it to us. And if you do that, we'll take a look at it and we can get back to you with any suggestions or advice that we might have about your trance work experiences. So again, thank you for being here. I'm Nathan, and this is my partner Astara in the chat here, and together we are Akashic Trancework, and we've developed a new powerful modality that helps us to really explore our awareness, to explore our consciousness, and we've come to understand how this works through observation of how we evolve, how our minds, how our consciousness grows throughout our lives. And we call this the ARE cycle. This is the pattern we've observed of human development. And there are many similar paradigms to this, but this is a very simple one that we found applies in many cases. The idea of the R cycle, the ARE cycle, comes from the idea of Ubuntu. The concept of Ubuntu means oneness. It means I am because we are. We are all one body. We are all one being, but at the same time, we're also separate. We perceive one another and we become in that way. We become ourselves because we perceive one another. So it came to us as we came to understand the idea of Ubuntu. We activate, we release, we expand. And those simple three words resonate profoundly with our hearts for most people because we've all been through these experiences, right? We've all been through periods of activation, periods of release, periods of expansion. It's very observable, and most people just get it right away. Activation is anything you become aware of. You become aware of something new in your life. Your universe shifts. A lot of times these powerful activations happen because of a traumatic event or a life change, but it could be anything. It could just be a choice to see things differently, a choice to open our minds and our hearts to a higher level of understanding, to our higher self-awareness. And that's really when we begin to activate. But when we activate, we tend to become aware of certain things that we need to let go of. Blockages, we call these things sometimes, challenges. And these can be old beliefs, traumas, fears, limiting things like that. Or it could just be something we've inherited from our ancestors or from our past lives. And it's a very real experience. And we do a lot of past life work and Akashic trance work in order to work through those things, but we don't have to. Sometimes we just have to go in and choose to let go of those things. And that's release. If we don't release, we tend to suppress. And if we suppress, then we suffer. And if we activate, then suppress and suffer, then we become an ass. That's kind of my little joke. We don't want to be an ass. We want to are. We are so we don't become an ass. Right? So we want to release rather than suppress. And once we release, we make space. We make space for all those things that we want to be. We make space for thriving. We move beyond simple survival mechanisms into thriving mechanisms. So expansion can look like a lot of different things, but essentially it's that place where we're feeling that thriving, joyful energy, and it can be poured into spiritual exploration. It can be poured into meditation, exploring the Akashic records, looking at our past lives, connecting with our star family, moving to different dimensions of awareness. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be something more physical, something more 3D, where we're building a business or we're finding a relationship or we're cultivating a skill. It doesn't matter. The point is that as we go through this expansion cycle, we can really learn about ourselves. We can spend some time with ourselves. So let's talk a little bit about what we'll be doing today, and then we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts of Akashic trance work. There we go. So we'll be talking about some very simple tools to help us access our different states of awareness. We'll be spending some time cultivating astral boundaries so that we can experience trance states in a safe, loving, constructive way. And then I'll be demonstrating a guided journey. And if you're not able to sit back and go through this experience with us, that's fine. And one of the follow-up emails will give you a recording of a basic guided astral boundary experience. So don't worry about that too much. But if you can join us, you might want to make sure you have some headphones for that. That'll just be about 10 minutes, a very relaxing, sort of guided meditative experience. Then after that, we'll go into a chance for a Q&A if you'd like to share about your experience. If you want to chat in the chat box, you can do that too. The chat box information is not recorded again, but if you say anything out loud, if you unmute yourself and say anything, that will be recorded. So just for your reference, keep that in mind. So let's talk about trance states. And obviously, I talk and think about these things a lot because this is what I do. But why do we care about trance states? Why do we care about altered states of consciousness and reality? They can be fun and interesting, but ultimately, we want to engage our subconscious minds for healing and empowerment. The subconscious mind is where everything's at. It's where everything happens. If you imagine an iceberg, right? Most of an iceberg is below the surface of the water, below the surface of the ocean. And you can only see maybe 5% of the structure of that iceberg above the water. That ocean is like your subconscious mind, and everything you are is body of the iceberg beneath the ocean. And that little tiny tip coming up above the ocean surface is your conscious mind, your ego mind, your active narrative running around in the world. And that's how we're designed to be. We have to have that active, conscious, engaged awareness so that we can function in the world. We call that beta activity. Let's talk about that a little bit, about the different brainwave patterns that are present in the mind and how they relate to our levels of consciousness. Everything above the surface of the water, everything at the very tip of that iceberg is at the beta level. Awake, normal, alert consciousness. We're focused with everything that's going on around us. We're fully engaged. We can communicate. We know what's happening. A lot of us function very well in beta states, but sometimes we have trouble. Some of us have a lot of trouble grounding in. We have trouble focusing. We don't have a lot of energy. When that happens, that's an indication that we need to bring in more beta activity. And there are ways to do this. There's some very simple grounding exercises that we can do to activate more beta waves, connecting with the earth, connecting with trees, using sound healing, using binaural beats and solfeggio frequencies and things like, excuse me. So beta waves are where we're at normally. Hopefully, if we're able to really engage with our physical experience. But in trance work, we focus more on relaxing ourselves down from those beta states because we want to engage ourselves. We want to know how to really connect with our inner world. And we have a lot of beta activity. We tend to be focused on the external world. If you're having a lot of fear and anxiety, then you probably have too much beta activity going on in your brain, too much of this frequency, too much of this energy in your brain. So ultimately, what you want to do is try to cultivate alpha states in that case. And we do a lot of work in alpha states because they're very powerful, and most people go there anyway all the time. If you meditate, if you're a daydreamer, if you're a creative person, if you like to contemplate, if you tend to fantasize or just kind of space off, then you go into alpha states all the time. You may not know it, but you do it. And being conscious of the state that we're in, intentionally bringing ourselves to these alpha states can be very powerful. And there's a lot of work we can do in those places.
Hello, ladies. What can we do for you? So we've got a bus drivers meetup in 4 months.
I will keep everyone muted while we're in this session. If you would like to speak up, please go ahead and unmute yourselves. So we're talking a little bit about our alpha states, and alpha states are very powerful. We can do a lot of creative, visual, imaginative work in those places. But as we relax even deeper, we explore these different states that we can go into. A delta state is that completely at rest, completely dormant state. Our minds are not engaged, our egos are not engaged. We're just completely resting, and it's a very important place to be. We do a lot of healing work there. We do our most deep cellular clearing in that state, and we can do in Akashic Trancework some very specific tonal frequency healing in delta states, but we don't necessarily try to induce those states intentionally, because most of us, if we can relax enough, we can easily get to a delta state. We really want to explore more than anything else in deep Akashic trance work our theta states. We love our theta states. Theta states are when you're dreaming. When you're dreaming, you're in a theta state. You're fully engaged with your inner world, with your symbolic, imaginative, creative world. And when you can do that, you can really explore, you can really connect with your deep Akashic awareness, with your inner awareness. Theta states are where we usually need to go to really access our past lives or connect with our spiritual ancestors or our spirit guides or move to other dimensions of awareness. That deep theta awareness is where we're so relaxed, our bodies are so at rest that we can let them go. We don't have to worry about our physical bodies because we have trust in our safety, and we can really experience that full astral awareness, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then we also have the gamma experience. Gamma waves are present in people who are experienced with meditation and trance work. You can see kind of, if you look at these brainwave patterns, how tight the beta activity is and how relaxed the gamma activity is. It's almost like nothing, right? It's that resting into full presence, that resting into full self. You might even call it the enlightenment state, or the state of bliss, or nirvana, or samadhi, or satori. Any of those terms comes to mind when you start thinking about gamma states. And gamma states are, in Akashic trance work, what we cultivate when we try to connect to our heart centers, our heart-centered awareness. A lot of what we do is from grounding and centering. Grounding brings us in enough beta wave activity to energize ourselves, to be connected with our physical bodies. And then the gamma states connect us to our divine selves. It's almost like beta's here at the bottom, the lower self, and the gamma state is up here. But really, it all comes together in the heart. So we want to balance ourselves. We want to balance. And gamma is that state of pure balance, that state of pure equilibrium where we are engaged, alert, aware, clear, open, and happy. It's a happy place. And that's the important thing. We want to be happy. We want to have joy in our lives. We want to thrive. So let's talk about some of these different states and how we can induce them. So we talked about alpha trance already a little bit and what it's good for. These alpha states are very easy for most of us to get to. Anytime that you're sort of fantasizing or daydreaming or just kind of spacing off or lightly meditating or just kind of resting, taking a nap, you're going into that alpha state, and it's a nice place to be. It's a very cozy kind of place to be. You're awake still, you can engage with the world, but you're just at peace, or at least more at peace than you would be if you were in that full beta state. They're very important. And why do we care about them? Because they give us our first stage of astral access. So I want to talk a little bit about what I mean by astral. In a lot of different modalities and teachings, they talk about astral travel, astral projection, out of body experiences, and that's part of the experience. You can very literally project your awareness completely outside of your body to the point where you're unaware of your physical body. And when you're that deep in the astral experience, then you may even see a silver cord connected to your body. And that is your projection. You are actually going to a different place. And that tiny cord of energy, it's all that's connecting you to your body. Usually that only happens by accident. It's rare for people to be able to fully induce a complete out of body experience. But that doesn't mean we don't have astral access. Everything inside of ourselves is an astral experience, right? All of our feelings, all of our thoughts, all of our memories, all of our emotions, all of it, it's all astral experience. Our imagination, our creativity, all those things, they're all astral experiences. And we sometimes refer to astral space versus physical space. Your astral space, your personal astral space, sometimes we call that our fourth dimensional awareness, as opposed to our third dimensional awareness, which is our physical space. You know, if I have a physical ball and I drop it, it's going to fall at the same rate every time. If I have an astral ball, an imaginary ball, I could drop it and it might turn into a bird or dissolve, or maybe I turn into the ball, who knows? But it's within your mind, it's within your dream state. So you're able to really flow with that. And there are certain laws that do apply in alpha trance, or in astral space rather. There's certain astral laws that do apply because your mind has specific patterns that it flows on. There are certain patterns, certain behaviors that are predictable, but they're different from the physical laws. So in Akashic Trance work, a lot of the work that we do is to try to explore these principles. Where are the bounds of our astral experience? What does it mean when we have a given astral experience? And it's really important. And that's what alpha trance states allow us to do, is to very quickly and easily access these different states. So how do we get there? There's a lot of different ways you can get to an alpha trance state. Most of us just have to kind of sit back and relax a little bit and think about it. But in Akashic trance work, we want to be able to really induce those states. We want to bring ourselves to those states, be able to bring ourselves out of those states. So we've cultivated and learned a number of different methods for bringing ourselves there. And the two most powerful methods that we've discovered are breath and toning. If you can bring yourself into a trance state, then you can explore your entire consciousness very easily. I can induce you into a trance state. I could talk to you for about 15 minutes and bring you there. But if you can bring yourself there at any time, you can do all of this work on your own. So, the main tool that we use for self inducing trance states, or for guiding someone else into a trance state, is the breath. Breathing is a very, very powerful process. Breathing is everything, right? In Vedic yogic practice, they talk about prana, about energy that we breathe in, and there's pranayama practice that's done in that kind of area. But we don't necessarily do that. We just want to be able to pay attention to our breathing. We want to count our breathing. So, what we found to be the best alpha breath pattern is 5 seconds on the inhale, 5 seconds on the exhale. All you have to do is just, again, breathe in for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, and that will get you down into an alpha state very quickly. So for some people, it's a little bit longer, maybe a little bit less. It depends on your lung capacity, but most people, 5 seconds is about what will work. If you have any breathing problems at all, I recommend not doing this. There's another method that we'll describe a little bit later. But for most of us, just focusing on the breath is all it takes. So I invite you, you're open to it, to try right now. Try to count your breath. 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out. I'll guide you through it. And you may be familiar with this kind of practice. So if you are, that's great. Just do what you do. So we'll count in now for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you're able to do that exercise, you'll find that you immediately begin to relax just a little bit more. You're moving into a nice alpha state and engaging more with your thoughts and feelings and everything going on inside of you. Depending where you're at, that may be a nice feeling, or it may be a little uncomfortable if you have a lot of stress and things happening. So this is a place where we can just connect with ourselves very gently, check in with ourselves without having to go too deep. We don't want to go too deep at this point. We just want to check in with ourselves. How are we feeling? How are we doing? Do we need to relax a little bit? Do we need to let go of some of that beta activity and allow ourselves to slip into a nice alpha state? But we also recognize that breathing doesn't work for everyone. Some people don't like to count their breath if they have breathing difficulties. Sometimes trying to count the breath can cause anxiety. We don't want to do that. We want to relax, right? So another method that we've discovered that's very helpful and a lot of fun is the process of toning. So I want to talk a little bit about toning in general first, and then we'll go more in depth into how we can tone ourselves into an alpha state or a theta state. But toning itself is just vibrating the voice into different parts of the body. If you're familiar with any kind of meditation practice with chanting or mantra or anything like that, you're probably very familiar with this. You've probably done it before, but this is a more loose, free form way to really just vibrate into that part of the body because we've discovered that by vibrating into different parts of the body with a voice, we can actually induce different states of awareness. It's a really nice experience. It's a really fun experience. You can do it with children, you can do it with a partner, you can just really let go by yourself even and experiment with it. You don't have to sound good. You don't have to be a singer. You're not trying to perform. You're just trying to really enjoy yourself. You're just trying to really allow yourself to experience the flow of your voice, the flow of sound through your body. Sound is the most healing thing in the universe. Sound will heal you from anything if you allow yourself to do it enough. And your voice, if you can produce sounds with your voice, then you'll be able to connect with your different levels of awareness very easily. And what we found for the alpha experience specifically is that if we tone into our faces, into our third eyes, into our eyes, into our nose, into our throat, then we can induce an alpha state very quickly. So I invite you now, if you would like to try it with me just for a few seconds, just toning in to your face, feeling the vibration of your voice kind of humming into your face. Doesn't have to be loud. Just want to feel the vibration, and I'm going to do it. You may not be able to hear me through the mic, but just give it a try. And if you can't try it now, try it another time. And you will receive an email after this session that'll have all this information. So just keep that in mind too. So give it a try. Take a deep breath in. Try it one more time. Breathe in deep into the stomach. So it's very relaxing, it's very calming, and you can do it anywhere. That's the nice thing about both breath and toning. You can do it anywhere, no matter what situation you're in. As long as you can breathe or tone, then you can relax. And beyond just getting ourselves into these alpha states, these are very useful tools just for relaxation in general. If you experience any kind of anxiety, if you ever have trouble relaxing, these types of activities, these exercises can be very helpful for that. So that's another practical application for these kind of tools. So let's talk a little bit about our theta states. Now, theta trance, again, is where you go when you are dreaming. But in Akashic trance work, we don't really want to fall asleep, right? And usually when we go into a theta state, we go into a delta state first. If we're sleeping, we're going to go into a REM state, which is a light theta state, and we'll dream for a little bit. Then we'll usually go down into a delta state and rest. And then we'll go into a theta state. We might move into a gamma state at some point, but most of the time we're going to have to go to a deep restful place before we come up to our theta state and dream, which is fine. But the problem is a lot of us don't remember our dreams, right? We may not be able to control our dreams. In Akashic trance work, we can induce a theta state so that we can control our experiences and that we can also remember them and communicate about them to other people. And that's really, on one level, what an Akashic record reading is going into that deep theta state, connecting with our subconscious, spiritual, collective knowledge, and then bringing back information and interpreting it in a coherent way. So if you're interested in learning how to read the Akashic records, we teach ways that we can go down into these theta states and then come back. If you've ever been in a hypnotic state, if you've ever done a shamanic journey, then you've experienced sort of this conscious theta induction. It's a trick. It's tricky to stay in that theta state and not fall asleep. And that's what we want to cultivate. We want to cultivate the art and skill of staying in these theta states and then coming back up to the alpha state, to the beta state, wherever we need to be able to communicate and interpret. So let's talk a little bit about how we can get ourselves into a theta state and stay there without falling asleep and then going into that place where we might not be able to remember what happened. The trick to it is breathing and toning. Again, like everything else, we want to breathe into a theta state, but we don't want to breathe too long because your deepest breath will put you to sleep. Most of us know that, or if you don't, that's a tip. Your deepest breath, the deepest possible breath you can take, will put you to sleep. For most people, they can breathe in for at least 10 seconds and out for at least 10 seconds comfortably without causing any sort of disruption or discomfort or panic in the body. So the breath to get ourselves to theta is for most people about 7 seconds. Now, if you have a large lung capacity, you may find that you can hold your breath for 14 or 15 seconds. You can inhale and exhale for 14, 15 seconds. And that's fine, but you don't really want to go, if you're trying to get yourself into a theta state, you don't want to breathe more than 10 seconds inhale, 10 seconds exhale. And that will give you a theta state pretty quickly. It'll take you down into that theta place really quickly. So I only recommend doing this if you are in a comfortable place. If you're driving, if you're walking around, if you're trying to be active right now, don't do this. But if you would like to try this out, either now or at some point later, I invite you to sit back and relax a little bit. And you'll want to just rest your head back if you can. We're going to breathe in for 7 seconds and out for 7 seconds. So in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So most people, if they do that breath pattern, they'll find that their head starts to droop a little bit and they might relax quite a bit. So again, you don't want to do that while you're trying to drive or anything like that. But if you want to try to induce yourself into a theta state, be mindful of your breath. If you start getting too sleepy, breathe a little bit shallower. Think of it as your second deepest breath that you can do, and that will help you to master the theta state pretty quickly. But again, breath work is not for everyone or for all times. Sometimes it's just not what we want to do, sometimes we need more. So theta toning allows us to get down to that place very easily as well. And I love doing this exercise. This is probably one of my favorite things to do because it feels so nice and relaxing. All we have to do to tone ourselves into a theta state is vibrate our voice into that part of our body between the heart and the solar plexus. So I invite you now, again, to try this with me if you would like. And doesn't have to sound good. It's just about relaxing. It's a very primal feeling of just vibrating into the body. So let's try it. Take a deep breath in. Let's try one more time. So it's that simple. If you do it right, you should feel the vibration in your hands and your arms and your chest. And it's so relaxing that if I do it too much, I would just kind of immediately just topple over because it feels so good. So that's how we get into these different trance states. And there are many other ways we can induce them. We can have someone guide us, which is what I do with people. And we can induce trance states through dance, through light patterns, through different other sounds that we can play. But the nice things about these methods is that we can do them anywhere. in the woods, in our bedrooms, walking down the street. And if you can master bringing yourself into a trance state, then you can really explore all of your different senses, all of your different levels of awareness that you have. But why? Again, why? What are we going to do once we get there? Once we get ourselves into that place where we're alone with our thoughts, with our feelings, with ourselves, what do we do there? For most people, there's a lot of information there. There might be divine inspiration. There might be thoughts, feelings, fears, memories, concerns, maybe people that we think about a lot, situations we think about a lot. Maybe we have a lot of stuff happening. Maybe we have a very rich inner world, which most of the people that are drawn to trance work do. But what do you do with it? What do you do while you're in there? The important thing is that we need to have boundaries within ourselves. If we can have boundaries within ourselves, within our experience, then we can very easily set external boundaries with any being of any kind that we may connect with at any point in our lives. But we first need to know how to cultivate boundaries for ourselves. And when we think about that, where do we direct our energy? Where is your energy directed at any given time? Where are your thoughts directed? Where are your feelings directed? Do you have certain thoughts or feelings that come up all the time, even though you may not want to think about them? They come up a lot. Maybe they're not bad. Maybe they don't make you feel bad, but they do take a lot of your time. Are you really cultivating the things you need to cultivate? Are you directing your energy where it needs to be directed? Do you know where you end and where another person begins? It can be difficult, especially for very empathic people, for sensitive people. We tend to sort of absorb the people in our lives and absorb the situations in our lives and lose ourselves in them. So, with astral boundaries, we cultivate a space or multiple spaces where we can protect our energy, where we can conserve and cultivate our energy. And the main way that we do this is to create intentional astral spaces. We build a safe space in our mind's eye, in our inner space, in our imaginative, creative space. When we do that, when we intentionally imagine a safe space, when we intentionally create or build a safe space in our minds, then we're bringing in all of our positive associations around that space. One of the most common examples of inner safe space that people use is the beach. Most people have very positive associations with the beach. They can imagine it very well. They can imagine the sounds and the smells and the textures and all those things. And it brings them happy thoughts. It brings them happy feelings. It awakens their inner cellular memory of positive events that have happened in their lives. That's what we want to do. What this place looks like doesn't matter so much as how it makes you feel. Your safe space, your inner safe space, should be something that really resonates with you, that makes you feel good. It doesn't have to be a visual space. Not everyone is creatively visual in that way, but we want to bring in those thoughts and feelings that make us feel good. We need to cultivate, we need to bring those things in. We need to bring things in that bring us joy. We need to remember things that bring us joy. That's the center of our being is joy, is happiness, is love. We sometimes call this the heart space, the heart center. It's the center of our being. It's where everything meets. It's the part of us that is nourished, that nourishes. It's everything. It's all we are in the middle. And if we can look out from that perspective, then our entire worldview shifts. But we need to spend time on it. We need to feed our heart. We need to cultivate our heart. We need to plant those things, plant those intentions, plant those feelings. If you have a garden, it's not just going to grow naturally on its own. Most likely, you're going to have to go plant seeds, plant cuttings, water it, weed it, keep out pests. It's very similar. We need to nourish ourselves. We need to find ways to experience joy. When was the last time you really laughed, right? When you want to laugh, laughter, joy, just for its own sake, just bringing in happy feelings. It seems sometimes a little bit silly. I can't just think happy thoughts. You can. You have happy memories, hopefully. If you don't have any happy memories you can bring up, if you can't create this heart space, then there's some real blocks. that you're experiencing. Because most of us should be able to at least imagine something joyful, something happy. And if you can't, then there's a lot of stuff happening, and I invite you to talk to me about it because I'd like to hear your story. But most of us can do this. Most of us can at least think of something that can bring us joy, bring us happiness. When we have to do that, when we laugh, when we smile, when we bring in these things, we're building our astral space. We're building our heart temple. We're creating a foundation of strength. We're summoning up our cellular memory of joy. And this is the place where all effective trance work stops and starts. This place where we cultivate our energy. We build our energy. It's a foundation. If you want to really effectively access past lives or Akashic records, travel to other dimensions of being, you got to have a home to come back to. In physical 3D space, hopefully you have a home, some sort of shelter, some place you can go to let down your guards a little bit, to be yourself, to nourish yourself, to eat, to relax, to decorate the way you want, to spend time with the people that you want to spend time with and keep out the people and the animals and the rain that you don't want to have around you. That's kind of acknowledges the basic human right, but how many of us have an inner home? How many of us spend time with ourselves? Do you spend any time with yourself? Think about this. Whoever you are thinking about, whatever you are thinking about at any given time, that's where your energy is going. That's where your life force is going, because ultimately, as an incarnate being on earth right now, you only have so much time. And that's a difficult thing to face, but we do have that reality. All of our energy is a reflection of our time. How much time are we investing? So, whatever you're thinking about, whoever you're thinking about, whether it's a child or a parent or a partner or someone who did you wrong, traumatic memory, anything like that, where is your energy being directed? If you can discern that, if you can cultivate enough space for yourself, enough energy for yourself, if you can choose where to direct your energy, then you can create a boundary with any being in the universe. You can protect yourself from any being in the universe if you can cultivate that center of joy. So I love this woman here because she is just content. She's just spending some time with herself. She's seeing herself. She's looking at herself. And there's a feeling of peace and contentment. And that's what we want to do. We want to spend some time with ourselves, the way we would spend time with anyone else that we cared about. We spend time with the people that we care about. We invest in them. We spend time with our partners. We spend time with our children. Quality time. It's not about quantity time. I mean, obviously, we're with ourselves all the time, but are we spending quality time with ourselves? Are we spending reflective, joyful time with ourselves? It's an important question. And that's what this is all really about. It doesn't really matter what you're visualizing, it doesn't really matter what you're thinking or feeling. But they have to be things that make you feel good. Otherwise, you're not nourishing yourself. Otherwise, you're not nurturing yourself. And that's what we want to do. We want to nourish and nurture ourselves. And that is the fundamental practice of the astral boundary is space for self-nourishment in the same way that you have a physical boundary, which is your home. Once you've learned how to create this astral boundary, there's actually a lot you can do because you've learned how to cultivate your inner space, your imaginative creative powers, and then you can go out and explore and build and experience in a lot of really amazing ways. But this is the foundation of it. This is what we teach as we work with people. We teach how to get to these states and how to cultivate these boundaries before anything else. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk about those things. Obviously, I love this experience very much, so I talk about it a lot and I can talk too much sometimes, but I try to be mindful of time. So I wanted to allow you a moment if you would like to go through a guided journey with us. I'll demonstrate what it's like to go down through an alpha and theta experience, and then we'll go through process of creating your safe space as well as establishing some simple astral boundaries. So if you'd like to engage in this experience, I recommend getting some headphones, and sitting back so that you have good head and neck support. I'll allow about a minute for you to get ready if you need to. Just find a cozy spot to sit back and relax. Just remembering that there's nowhere to go right now, nothing to do. You choose how much you want to relax, but you set aside some time for yourself today, some time to show up for this, some time to learn and explore. It's your time, it's your moments. Just take some nice, relaxed breaths, just stretching a little bit, allowing yourself to really relax, really sink into the comfort of your seat. You may even want to lay back if you can. It's okay if there's distractions around you. Those things don't matter too much. Just relax and allow yourself to receive this experience today. Just breathing, relaxing now. We'll do another 5 count of the breath, counting in for 5 and out for 5. In now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue to breathe and relax. You may find your thoughts and feelings becoming more present. You're more aware of those things. Don't attach to them. Don't judge your thoughts or feelings. Don't push them away. Just be present. Just be there. Just allow those experiences to move through your mind like clouds in a bright blue sky as you relax and breathe, just daydreaming, just letting your thoughts and feelings meander like they do, just relaxing into yourself, just being yourself fully, just experiencing yourself. And as you relax, we'll count a bit deeper now. 7 counts in, 7 counts out. Let's begin. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Continue to breathe and relax as you begin to imagine a nice, safe, warm, happy place. It can be any place you've been, place you'd like to go, a purely abstract or imaginary place, or a memory of a physical place. Spend a few moments there, breathing, imagining yourself fully in this place, fully there, fully present, imagining the thoughts you would have in that place, feeling the sensation, the breeze, the scents, the texture. Are there any plants or animals there? Any other people who show up immediately? Bring in the things that bring you joy. Remember the moments of happiness in your life. Think of the song, the poem, the picture, the silly internet images, the ridiculous experiences, things that were just so funny you almost fell off your chair. The joy rising in your heart as your heartbeat, moving air, moving light, moving energy throughout your body, moving joy throughout your body, lightening yourself, relaxing you. You are here now in your heart center, in your heart centered awareness. You may find things arising that don't belong there, difficult feeling, challenging feeling, distressing feelings, or just things that distract you, that take you away from this experience. These are most likely things you think about a lot. How much time do you spend on these things each day? How much time do you spend thinking about your job or your school, your children, your partner, your parent, your memory, your bill, your responsibility, your obligation, your fear? How much energy do you give them? And how much time do you give yourself? How much quality time do you spend with yourself? It's time to choose, to create a boundary. How much time will you spend with yourself each day? A minute, 5 minutes, an hour? How much time do you want to dedicate to those things that take so much of your energy? How many hours a day, a week? How much of your life do you want to devote to those things? Maybe you don't want to give them any, but if they are calling to you, clearly they require your energy on some level, Maybe they're your responsibility. Maybe these are just beings you love very much. Even the beings you love can give you a little space. Even a child can give their mother or father a little space. The more time you spend in this way, the more energy you'll have to pour into others, the more energy you have to connect to others, to thrive, to be a more effective friend, parent, student, teacher, colleague, human. Choose now. What is your boundary? How much time will you spend each day nourishing yourself truly and deeply? Take another moment to set any boundaries you might need to set, to bring in any energies you need to bring in, to connect with yourself and those beings you love, if you wish. And breathe as you bring yourself back to a fully awake state, gently and slowly moving your fingers and arms and stretching a little bit. Taking some nice relaxed breaths, contemplating what you experienced. So I hope you were able to benefit from that experience. I wanted to open some space. If you would like to express anything for the next couple minutes, you can do so. You can just chat or you can speak up. I did want to tell you a little bit about what we do at Akashic Trancework. We have a number of different types of sessions and readings that we do. And if you would like to learn more about that, you can go to akashictrance.com and you can schedule a consult. We'd be happy to talk with you for 30 minutes and see how we can work with you. We also have a class that we're teaching, and the enrollment in the intensive class is going to be completing here on the 15th, just in a couple days. So if you'd like to join in on that, I suggest going to akashictrance.com/initiation and checking it out. We also have a self-paced version of that class if you'd like to engage with that. Always available at any time. If you'd like to communicate with us further, we welcome you to do so. There is a self-assessment form, as I mentioned, that will be available to you. It should be in your welcome email as well as to the email that you'll get as a follow-up here. So yes, let us know if you'd like to engage further, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts. We do appreciate you being present. Thank you again. Deepest blessing.